You make it an entrance.
Okay.
Ooh, coming in hot.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Maddie, are you okay?
Okay.
Oh.
That was the worst luck. I'm sorry, man.
That was horrible. Is the crotch okay?
Oh, my crotch is good.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, Maddie got hit on the balls.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. He's Drew Martin. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Q&A that we do every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Time, where you can ask us anything you want about anything. Of course, we look ahead to the upcoming weekend of sporting events, and Drew Martin, the Texas and Cleveland game has started. And Texas did put up a run, which is nice because I have the over, but I also have the Cleveland team total over. And in the first inning, it appears that Drew Kashner, what managed to get out of it was 0 runs. Something's up with Andrew Kashner. I mean, he's just a guy who has peripherals that imply that he should be a guy who should get hit a little bit, right?
Yeah, he did give up one hit, though.
He did give up a hit, but what's up with Andrew Kashner? I mean, let me ask you this. You're a guy who goes into analytics pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
As do I. What's your opinion on are there outliers, pitchers whose results don't follow what you would expect the analytics to indicate, and how do you identify which pitchers those are if that is the case?
All right, where I'm at right now with that beat is if they're, the FIP ERA regression is what all the analytics guys talk about,
right.
And I pay very close attention to it. Although if there is a veteran guy, the Garcias of the world, the Lirianos of the world, that have a live fastball, and then also can combine it with a good changeup, and so they get light contact. Those are the guys I think can keep that, disparity in FIP and ERA going for the long term.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So then why is it then that the FIP doesn't capture what they're expecting?
Because they get a higher ratio of light contact, of softer contact for a long period of time.
Right. Right. So they don't get the strikeouts that you would that FIP loves.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting
Do you
stuff.
agree with that, or?
Yes, that is. I mean, it's definitely something that is debated a lot on the sabermetric sites and everything. Exactly how how much of the events analytics are due to luck and how much are due to skill, and it's sort of like an endless debate. So you look at the actual pitches that a pitcher has.
So yeah, and look at their profile. Like Sensatella for Colorado, 2-pitch pitcher, hard fastball, hard slider. No, if he has the regression, it's going to regress to what the MLB normal is, in my opinion. But the guys that can hit the corners, that have a good changeup fastball disparity, those are the guys that can keep it up.
And that might be.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into Kashner as much.
Yeah,
he's not a guy that I look for that to happen, but there are certain guys. Can anybody hear me right now? Only me. Wow. Damn, I gave a good breakdown on the.
That was a great breakdown.
Yeah, and also, and also, there's two different kinds of pitchers who have like FIP ERA disparities. One is like youngsters where that's just their style, and then the other type is pitchers who are like Kashner, pitchers who are getting older and having a decline in skills, but for whatever reason are starting to show a disparity in FIP and ERA. So there's a veteran who has had whose FIP and ERA mostly lined up in their careers, and then suddenly later on in their careers there's a disparity. You would expect that to close, I guess.
Exactly. Unless
they develop a new way of a new strategy for getting guys out, in which case that would not be the case, right? Because some pitchers do change to become more of a pitch to contact style in their later careers.
Yeah, they usually do.
Yeah,
like Felix Hernandez is trying to become that right now. It's just a question of will he be able to do it.
So would you expect someone like Felix Hernandez to have more of a disparity between his FIP and ERA going forward because he's changing his style?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
These are, by the way, these are all very, very difficult questions that even people on Fangraphs and baseball and all the sabermetrics websites debate endlessly, so there's no clear, it's not like there's a right answer here, and they sometimes they'll do like advanced studies where they'll come up with a better answer to a question that everyone's been debating for a while, and it is interesting stuff.
And it's one of those things where you got to have a little bit of the analytics and also a little bit of the gameplay. Watch them throw the ball. Watch their how they're locating their changeup, things like that. Are they getting the soft contact, the dribblers down the line type of contact?
And this is also why the lines in baseball have tightened up so much, because there is a lot of smart people paying attention to the analytics and statistics, and everyone's aware of it now. So that's why it's not the easiest thing in the world to beat MLB, unless you have a team that's throwing out Bartolo Colon every 5 days for some unexplained reason and kind of like
fade away.
Yeah.
You were on it, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, basically, like, what I should have done this year is just like stuck to all my obvious low-hanging fruit plays of the fades of Bartolo Colon, because it's kind of like, the front offices like know what the analytics say about, right? They're not like, oh, he's going to regress to start pitching well soon. They're just kind of like, but the weird thing is, and yesterday I did tweet out the team total over on that one. But the weird thing is, because there was no overnight line, and when I took a first glance at the line for that game, it was during the show and people were asking about it, and I saw the line for the first time, and I thought to myself, how can San Diego be minus 120 here?
That's what I thought. I thought there was something wrong with it. Yeah.
It's one thing to send Bartolo Colon out there. It's another thing for the markets to make him just a small underdog, right?
I didn't understand it.
That is really weird,
We capitalized on it.
Yeah, we certainly did. So yeah, let's get to some of these pitchers. There was a huge debate here about sound. Just like with the analytics in baseball, some people were like, no sound. Other people saying, I got sound. Well, it's a hard answer.
I think we're good on sound now. Let us know.
There's some debate on whether or not there's sound or not. Yes. Okay. All right.
James Paxton, fade away, or since he's been back from the DL.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, God, I gotta just listen to myself more, because as you remember, we talked about that when he first came back from the DL. I said there's something wrong with this guy, and there was. And for his first few starts, I cashed with that. But then his last start, I bet on him, and he looked again. He looked bad against Philly as Isan Zoltankari.
Tuesday.
That was yes, it was the Tuesday game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think there is something definitely, and he's going to continue to be priced as an elite starter.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they throw him out there until he really starts to get crushed. He might go back on the DL, but there's definitely something wrong with him. So yeah, I would say look to fade him. I was on the right side fading him in his first few starts back from the DL, and on the wrong side getting off that train in his last start.
Gave the profits back, I guess.
I did, yeah.
So what we got, Jeff Locke too. Yeah, he's fade Jeff Locke City.
Absolutely. And yeah, I should have just taken the Mets team total over in that game. I took the full game over and the first 5 innings over, and just missed on both of them. But the Mets crushed Jeff Locke. He might not be in there for much longer.
Yeah,
he might not even.
So. He had that one good half where he made the All-Star game, and ever since he's been terrible.
Yes. All right. Shout out to Nate Dog 420. Shout out to Joaquin Hill. Shout out to Alex Nogales. Shout out to all of our regular viewers. Let's see. All right, we have another question. We do? Did you say? What was the question?
IFBC, guys. Anybody have any questions about IFBC?
Yeah, anyone have any questions about the big football conference that we're arranging? It is, once again, for people who are just hearing about it for the first time, what are the details? SBR is hosting the first inaugural international football, what is it?
International Football Betting Conference.
That's
August
right.
4th and 5th. Here in San Jose, Costa Rica. Come down and join us. Check it out, ifbc.live. We got Cynthia here. Mm-hmm. She is the mastermind behind it all.
That's awesome.
Just running stuff here at SBR, making it happen.
And
if you finish in the top 5 of the July MLB Bet Points contest, which you should find under the SBR contest tab, you can also come down on SBR's dime.
Yeah, and it's the key is who are the guests actually going to be? There's some heavy hitters, some big minds there, right?
Big minds.
We got Drew Martin. We got who else? Gil Alexander, right? We got
Clay Travis.
We got Ed Fang coming down.
Matty Holt from CG Technology.
That's right. So some heavy hitters, some high IQs in that panel, and also some mediocre minds are going to be there, like myself and Matty Ice and some other people. So it's going to be a pretty fun time, I think, and definitely very informative, right?
Absolutely. And what's up, Nate Dogg? Cynthia, you want to throw anything else out about IFBC?
Man, you guys covered it. Just remember that there's 50 spots, right? 50 spots, guys. So
that's it?
Yeah, there's 50 spots. So, it's just like we'll pay for hotel and the cost of the conference. You just need to get down here.
Mm-hmm.
So you send us, the confirmation, the flight confirmation, and we'll hook you up. But you gotta get to it, and it's cheap to fly down, guys. What,
interesting.
$300, $400, $500?
Yeah, so you gotta live in Atlanta.
So there's only
I just flew from Fort Lauderdale on Sunday, and it was 200. So
it's crazy expensive. Yeah.
So there's only 50 spots then for the public then.
Yeah, right now it's like 47. I think.
47.
We gave away 3 yesterday, so we got 47 left.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our guests also that will be coming in, but you guys just know that numbers just dwindles every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So get to it.
Sounds good. And here's an interesting question from Mac Taylor. How does SBR have enough money to pay for everyone's rooms, but can't even get a decent live stream system that doesn't suck? Very, very, very insightful question there from Mac Taylor. Yeah.
Well, one way is you guys helping us out, giving us likes on the videos there.
Yeah.
No, but he's saying like, how come we can't get a decent live stream? I think that our live stream, there's a lot of factors that go into how accurate, how good the live stream is, right? I mean, it's not just our internet connection, which we pay. We have a great internet connection.
I actually, is that like an ongoing thing from everybody?
I don't know.
I haven't heard that it sucked that
Yeah.
bad.
I just being a douche.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, man. Don't worry about that guy.
Really, that moment was brought to you by Massigo.
And you know, buddy.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Mike Heap. He asked, quick question about your odd style picks. Are your -1 plays basically a half unit on the run line and the money line, or are those 2-unit plays? No, those are just 1-unit plays. Basically, the way my -1 picks work is, once again, you can take, I like to bet it because it takes, it's basically the same thing from a mathematical perspective, but just psychologically, it's nice because if you want a big favorite, you don't have to take a big favorite line, but then you don't have to worry about, like, if they win by 1, you get a loss and you just get a push. So what I do is you bet the same amount to win on the money line as you bet to risk on the run line, and then you automatically have a -1 line built in. So if they win by more than 1, you win your bet. If they win by 1 exactly, you push, and if they lose the game, you lose. And so no, it's basically a 1-unit bet, but you can just make a quick calculator in Excel to figure out exactly how much you would have to bet on each side if you want your bet size to be a certain amount. It's not that hard to do in Excel. I have it myself. It's a quick.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. You were the one that put me on to that, as far as just -1 instead of -1.5, especially for home teams.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I'm sure if I went back and looked at it, which I have, it's basically the same whether I'd taken the run lines or the money lines, but just on each individual play, it makes me less risk averse. You know what I mean? Because and that's when I'm giving public picks, because as you know, Drew Martin, I'm much more risk averse when it comes to my public picks than I am with my own betting, which ironically makes me worse at my public picks because you know what I mean?
It happens, man.
Because I'm just like, I'm much on my own betting. I'll easily take an underdog, and if it loses, be okay with it. Being like, all right, I thought I had an edge there. It was a 160 line. I thought it should have been 140. And if it lost, that's fine. But when I'm giving picks publicly, I'm very, very loath to take a big underdog, because then if it loses, I have to come back on camera the next day and
it's always tough to confess to it. We
Yeah.
got Nate Dogg here. Do you think All-Star Game coming up affects game betting between now and All-Star Game? In my opinion, Pete, and you can go maybe have an opinion, that maybe the game or two before the All-Star Game, but as of right now, no, I wouldn't factor it in at all. What about you?
Well, I wouldn't. Is he asking about this time of year or the All-Star, or the impact of the All-Star Game specifically? Because definitely things get quirky after, or like around the All-Star break. There's a lot all the time. You see, teams that started off the season with a great record. Perfect example, that was the Chicago Cubs last year. sort of like lag a little bit around the All-Star break and become a bad bet. And the same thing happens with teams that were bad for the early months of the season. Right around the All-Star break, psychologically, I feel like I see that every year where things start to change. There's always like one or two teams with outlier results from the first few months that suddenly make a stark reversal. Point. And the classic example of that was the Cubs last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got to put yourself in their position. You know, these are late 20s, early 30s guys. They got their house, their beach house rented for the 3 days. Mm-hmm. You know, their mind might be somewhere else. So.
And also, there's a grind. There's just a grind to any professional sports season that where the players admit that you can't keep up the full intensity for the entire season. So yeah, around the All-Star break, I do feel like things get a little bit quirky, not necessarily because they anticipate the break coming up, but just because of the time of the year when it is. It's after, April and May are already in the can.
Yeah, so to answer his question, yeah, it does affect it. And then after the All-Star game betting, I just become way more selective. Mm-hmm. Betting down the board on MLB games after the All-Star game, just watch out. I'd pump the brakes on that.
Really? Okay. See, I feel like the opposite. I feel like in all sports, not just baseball, I'm way better at the end of the year than in the beginning of the year.
Well, I am vastly different from you.
Right. Right. So. Yeah. And there's various people whose approaches work better at the beginning of the year than at the end of the year.
You also have football also breathing down your neck after the All-Star break, now.
Yeah, preparing.
Your focus is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes sense. That makes sense. Pete, how does that affect you in football?
Football. Well, first of all, there has been some debate, over the years concerning whether the lines in September, when football season gets underway, whether the lines become less sharp in September. And I have seen some evidence that they actually do. And especially since in September, of course, a lot of rookies get called up, and there are big roster changes that especially some of the lesser teams make in September. So you have very different actual players playing in September on some of the MLB teams, and of course the market won't adjust radically like that at all. And you can argue that because it's the beginning of the high season, they're in a worse position than at any point in the year to focus and make those kinds of adjustments. So so I think that September baseball lines can be very beatable, some of the most beatable baseball lines of the year, I think. Right?
Yeah, I guess you make some great points, especially if you have inside knowledge on their
right.
How they're going to translate their minor league stats to the major leagues.
And so you have to be following it closely, So
yeah. And there's only so much time in the day.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You gotta choose what you're gonna.
Absolutely, and
So bottom line is that because of football, the influx of football, you will see looser lines, or the markets get a little bit looser.
Because of the influx of football, and because of the quirk of
40-man rosters.
Yeah, because of the 40-man roster. The roster expands in baseball, so some of the teams, especially the terrible teams, but even the mid-range teams, will have various strategies. They'll bring up a few or sometimes many prospects and just throw them up into the majors. So the actual rosters of these teams are very, very different can be very different in September from the rosters that produce the year-to-date results that the lines are based on. So yeah,
great point.
So it's a combination of the time of year with sports betting in general and the quirks of the baseball season in September.
Okay. Dude, that is a huge nugget.
Yes.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Absolutely. I'm pretty good. I kind of know what I'm talking about here. Oh yeah.
We got Bobby. What's up, man? We also have let's see, Pete. Do you watch the games you bet on? Yes, I do.
Drew does. I actually don't, but only because. Well, only because I don't really have enough time. I definitely think that watching the games is a great thing to do. Definitely gives you an advantage in all sports, I think, and for various reasons. I would like to. I just don't quite have enough time, really. But I would like to.
And I will say, like baseball, you can rely more on analytics. Yeah. I like umpire stats a lot. But football, especially college football, I don't know how you could bet on it without watching it.
Right,
and yeah, seriously ask the people that do that, what are you looking at?
And I definitely feel like especially when it comes to like making second half bets, because I know what I look at for certain statistically for second half bets in basketball, but definitely anytime I'm watching a basketball game, I definitely have much greater insight into what I'd like to do in the second half. Sometimes it's in line with what I would have done anyway, just based on stats, but a lot of times it's not, and sometimes it just becomes very, very obvious if one team is just not likely to make an adjustment in the second half, or is likely to make an adjustment in the second half, and I've seen that time and time again. It's just hard to, I don't know. It's, what do you, at your house, do you have like 8 different screens and you've got because some people do, I know that.
Well, yeah, and I'm still getting it set up for football season here. Actually a little worried about it, but.
So you are planning on doing that then?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. In my living room in Atlanta, I had 3 screens and then 2 computers ready to rock.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible, Drew.
You don't?
No, I have my statistics computer and my porn computer, and they're side by side, and that's it. That's me when it comes to football season Saturday. It's no, I'm kidding around. I'm kidding. I've never looked at porn in my life. I'm just kidding around. I'm just making a joke here. Just trying to lighten the mood a little bit.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, that's right.
So we should do a man cave here? Is that what we're saying? Because you're not properly set up.
Well, no, I mean, it's.
I think I'm getting the Sling account set up to do it from the U.S. But yeah, like watching sports not in your home, at least with Comcast and AT&T's, they don't like that. They don't let you do it. Yeah. So I'm a little bit worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the sports books have that. Obviously, the Vegas has it, and there's a lot of like pro guys who would see that as just like a no-brainer or something that you have to have, and I can certainly understand why. It's just I don't know, it's just not the way I feel like my head would explode if I had like 8 different games going on at once.
Yeah, not necessarily 8, but
right,
like 3.
Right.
Yeah,
even 3.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm usually just I'll crunch numbers, and then I'll take like a 5-minute break and watch 5 minutes of like a Holocaust documentary, and then I'll like go back to crunching my numbers. It's like I definitely have weird habits. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, then I'll watch like 5 minutes of porn, then I'll watch 5 minutes of like quantum physics. Yeah, we're talking about like
take your time with yourself. How are we gonna
no, like micro breaks. I'll watch like 5 minutes of like an explanation of the double slit experiment, and then I'll like go back to like handicapping.
That's a weird
No, it's a famous quantum physics experiment. That is.
You do got to do what you like. I find myself on Saturdays because I'll just be locked in my living room watching all the games, and I'll like be really excited about walking the dog.
Yeah,
to get outside for like 5 minutes.
Right. Yes. You have to give your. What I do watch though, I'll tell you what I do watch. I do watch not live, but I watch clips of MMA though. That's for sure. I do watch, especially if there's if I'm trying to figure out how a certain MMA fighter is likely to do against someone with a similar stylistic approach to someone that he or she has fought in the past. That I do watch, and that like you could see with Ronda Rousey's fights, which I didn't have the balls to actually go out and call, but you could see that in the Bethe Correia fight, she almost got caught even by Bethe Correia. Ronda Rousey did.
So this was before she went down?
Yeah, before she went down. But against the Bethe Correia fight, in the Bethe Correia fight, you could see that Ronda was just kind of like sloppy when it came to striking. Yeah. She almost got caught by Correia, and that at some point someone was going to catch her. So I do watch MMA fights, not live, but on reruns. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. How have you done in MMA?
Oh, I've done great in MMA. Great in MMA, and mostly with totals. I had this last. I called the like I said, the last fight was Correia against Holly Holm. Loved the under in that one, and it was very simple. It was because of Correia's fighting style. Correia was like overmatched, but she was going to go in there like a beast and either knock Holly Holm out or get knocked out. Yeah. And so MMA is it's understandable why, because MMA is just hard to model, right? Yeah, the analytics for MMA.
Absolutely.
And even if it weren't hard to model, your sample size is going to be small anyway.
Especially
right?
with women's MMA.
With all of yeah. I mean, with women's MMA, you have some women who are like on the card who've literally had like 6 or 7 fights.
I know.
Yeah. So, but even with men's MMA, it's just the sample size is just tiny. And even with men's MMA, it's like you're looking, all right, so Nate Diaz, you're going to look at like, some fight from 3 years ago as indicative of what he's likely to do. So, yeah. So MMA is something that I like to bet, and done pretty well with it. There's another MMA event coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be covering that with. I'm sorry.
No, if you are so inclined, we actually have Daniel Gracie be in town next week.
Really?
Thinking about maybe asking him to come in and do a UFC show with you.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
Wrap you up a little bit.
Next week?
Next week.
Oh, that's awesome. For 214, for UFC 214 is coming up next week.
Next Saturday?
Yeah, next Saturday. Yeah.
213?
I think it's 214, isn't it? Or
One of those fights just got canceled too. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's so much guys. So there's so many fights, guys who get hurt and everything that I don't even pay attention to what the actual card is until like the week before. But let me see.
Bobby.
Yeah. So
Quit calling me out on my flirting, man. Jesus.
Is Bobby coming?
I don't know. Bobby is full of crap.
Okay.
You know?
You're not gonna give him a chance.
No, I'll give anybody a chance. But all these guys are like, until I see a ticket.
We just got 400 sign-up requests.
Yeah.
Tomarino Tomor says, I really like betting tennis. This guy is a guy who is a research king. He says, one thing about betting tennis, you only have to break down one person, like MMA, not a million factors. Yes, tennis is the one sport that I haven't gotten into in depth, and I probably should, because from what just from the people I've talked to over the past 5 or 8 years, it is relatively beatable still, and I'm sure that there are reasons for that. So I would like to. I would love to take just 2 months off and just immerse myself in tennis handicapping. Maybe I'll try to do that next summer. Maybe it's just tough because you can't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, and I agree with you. MMA can be beatable. Yeah, we have seen Cynthia on video, round table 2 weeks ago. Correct?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Tomor says, when I bet tennis, to me, it's all about current form and momentum, not real style. Interesting. But I'm sure that obviously that certain there are certain tennis players who are more vulnerable to a dominant serve than others, and various tennis players who do better on obviously the surface, I'm sure matters. I'm definitely a novice when it comes to tennis betting, but I would love to get into it at some point. Yeah.
I mean, it was just because a chick I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Liked to bet tennis.
Yeah.
With big boobs.
She did not have big boobs.
Look for certain tipsters that give good insights, nothing special or fancy. Yeah, another nice piece of advice. A psychological factor and experience. Yes, excellent.
Digging a hole.
What just happened?
Bobby.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm taking. I'm actually being squeezed. I'll let it out. I know.
Yep.
I didn't know you guys were going public with that.
I know Pete. Pete's trying to keep it on the down low, but I can't hold it down anymore.
Simona Halep had a reduction.
Did she?
Wow. That's
just recently?
He just said that. You're ace. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume that, and I don't mean to, let's not get, I don't know what the word is, not necessarily sexist, but I don't mean to acknowledge the difference between men and women here. But I'm assuming if you are a professional athlete, why wouldn't every female professional athlete just get a mastectomy? I guess because
a vasectomy?
A mastectomy, like get her breast removed or a breast reduction.
Because that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, that would be awful.
I'm assuming that breasts of any size would inhibit their performance athletically.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right.
It's fun back. Jesus.
Really?
Christ.
So I mean,
you guys on the chat can't see.
I'm just saying.
Camera, but yeah, you wouldn't be too good with that.
Yeah.
I would assume that any female professional athlete, if she got a breast reduction, would have an immediate improvement in her performance.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yes,
assuming.
but
And the stress on
Right, the pain, the stress,
you're bringing all that
everything.
down.
And I mean, yeah. And so,
absolutely.
I mean, when you're looking at the subtle differences between a mediocre professional athlete and an elite professional athlete, and I'm just guessing that I guess the reason they might not is because there's not a lot of money in women's professional sports, although in tennis there is.
Yeah, Tomar brings up a good point because they get endorsements off of their looks a lot. So
right. Yes.
That's maybe
yes.
a huge reason why they don't do that.
Mike Keep says Harina does just fine, LOL, but my assumption is that she'd be even better if she reduced her breasts as much as she could. Look, I don't know. I certainly don't. I'm not the expert on women's anatomy here, but I'm just saying that I'm assuming that like, you know, it would be that a woman with small breasts would have an advantage over a woman with big ones.
I don't know.
No?
I'm not going to go that far.
No?
No.
I mean, look. I mean, look, in horse racing, if you have extra weight, that's seen as like a big, you know, disadvantage. And just running up and down the court in WNBA,
you never see a horse with giant titties.
No, I'm just come on. I'm just saying. All right.
Hey, and by the way, Serena did have plastic surgery.
For what?
Let's see. Breast augmentation.
No, that's a joke.
So she got bigger boobs.
No.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Fix her nose for sure. But she did want breast augmentation because they're so muscular and breasts are fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it goes away. So all of a sudden, you know, like the bodybuilders, the chick bodybuilders that you see, they all have fake boobs because they're all muscle.
Yeah.
You know, your boobs go away. So, you know, it's really, that's more dangerous. You know, apparently, now this is latestplasticsurgery.com, so I don't know who these guys are. Anyways, just girl.
Wow. Yeah. All right. I don't know. So we are talking about women's sports, and I'm actually having a pretty good year in WNBA. The 2 games tonight, though.
That was a hell of a segue, Pete.
What?
Fucking hell, man.
What?
No, keep going.
That was good.
Well, yeah. No, there's 2. I'm having a good. Look at this, Drew Martin. Look at this. Don't look at my totals. But what does that say?
ATS 32, 18, and 2.
There you go.
64% plus 519 units.
Now, for full disclosure, you can reveal my over-unders. What does that say?
25 and 26.
Right. Okay. So tonight for WNBA, though, the games look a little bit tricky. Washington obviously is playing phenomenally well, but they are giving a bunch of points to New York, and New York might come in and give them a tougher fight. So I don't have any opinions now on either of the games tonight. Seattle is in a big mess, but Connecticut, it's not a good scheduling spot for Connecticut. They've played a bunch of games in a row, and they're given a bunch of points. So Seattle might come in. I might think about a shot with the under in the Seattle-Connecticut game. Seattle really has to figure out what they're doing defensively. So as of right now, if I had to give one recommended play in WNBA tonight, I think maybe about the under in Seattle and Connecticut. Wow. we're being showed some before and afters there. Nice.
Yeah, that's Serena Williams.
Yeah.
And yes, she does have bigger boobs.
Yeah. Or they're placed strategically.
Right. Although Seattle is having a ton of defensive issues, and Connecticut can easily put up 100 at home. So 2 tough WNBA games tonight. Unfortunately, I don't have anything I'm really liking in WNBA.
We got to give a shout out to Steve Maples. Anything more than a handful, and you're risking a sprained thumb. Referencing boobs.
Wow.
That was a good one.
That's good.
Okay.
That should be on a pillow.
I don't necessarily agree with him, though. I think.
Runners on second and third for Cleveland. Let's see this one. Let me check this one out.
Thank you. Oh my God.
All right. So, do we have any other questions that people would like to know about? No.
Do you think that male athletes should get what do they call it, castrated?
I was just thinking that when we brought that up, and I'm like, that would be awful, obviously.
Well,
It's the same thing. It's terrible.
Yeah, but I think, you get like testosterone and stuff from that area, don't
That's
you?
right, because then without titties, so that'd be all fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Geez, all right. Well, Cashner gave up 1 run, but I'm going to need a few more than that to. Look at this. Cashner is just a guy who's getting decent results, not the kind of guy who, and it's start in and start out. He's getting okay results. You look at his you look at his peripherals. You expect him to be vulnerable. You expect him to get crushed at some point in the upcoming future, and it doesn't really happen.
I don't understand. I just don't understand it, Pete.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Brantley can get in a second
Can I
right
ask
here.
you a question? The total pick from each one of you guys for today.
A totals pick. Okay. My totals pick. Let's check the current lines. Let's check the current lines at SBA, because one thing that we don't do here is give stale lines, right, Drew Martin? Because that's cheap. That's
right.
Total bullshit. All right.
That
So let's check the current lines. We're only going to give current lines. Let's see. MLB, ML totals. Okay. Totals pick.
I'm going to go Dodgers, Angels, under 7.5. Marine Layer, California, Kershaw, Ramirez has been all right. In the nightcap, under 7.5.
All right. Well, I'm going to give over 10 in Boston, Minnesota. I gave over 9 in Washington Cubs already, and it's moved up to 9.5, Drew Martin. So beat that one by a half run. Although I don't know if you've noticed this, but significant line moves on MLB totals have not been predictive at all this year. Just anecdotally. Yeah. So I'm not the fact that it went from 9 to 9.5 means almost nothing to me. I'm hoping that that's not one of the games that where I get burned on it. And so I guess I would give Minnesota Boston over 10 if I had to give one pick of the remaining games.
Boom. So there's 2 totals picks for you. And thanks for watching, guys. We got a bunch of viewers. Please give us a thumbs up, a like button. It helps us out a lot. We got thumbs up and thumbs down. No, we want the thumbs up. Asking about best sports books. What do we like? I like Bet Online. I like 5 Dimes.
Sure.
I like
Pinnacle, the Chris books, Bet Online, the Greek.
Yeah.
Where you live. You know, if you want, you can bet with Bitcoin now. A lot of places.
Yeah.
What do you want to bet on? You know, a lot of places don't have everything.
You know, I had this conversation yesterday, and it was really interesting. We broke down 3 different books that maybe you guys don't hear as much us talk about. One was Bet Online, which you just mentioned, where the feedback was that they have opinionated lines, more opinionated lines. And I don't know if you guys are going to agree with this. UWager is just consistent. They have like awesome bonuses and payouts are awesome and everything else. And then Intertops is more for the squares. You know, they'll hold your hand. You know, they definitely get you used to things. You know, and then it's a good first step. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know much about Intertops. I'd like to ask you a couple questions, but Bet Online, absolutely, they're opinionated lines. That's why I recommend having a Bet Online account, especially coming up to college football. They'll be first to market, so you can bet into their lines, and you're going up against just Bet Online instead of a efficient market later in the week. So that's why I recommend Bet Online, and they have, you know, good bonuses. But what about Intertops? I've actually never used them. So.
Yeah. Intertops, you know, Intertops is they were actually a really good company. I've been a fan of theirs for about 6 years now. Started, you know, UK book, and then they kind of opened to the US market. They changed that for a while, and then they went back into the US market. And their, you know, their platform, their mobile platform is really easy to use. You know, and these guys, I mean, I don't know in terms of markets, Pete will probably have a you know, better input in terms of what their lines look like. You know, but in terms of customer service and ease of use, it's one of the ones that are preferred by Squares.
And they do take American clients.
Yes, they do.
And they pay.
Yeah.
A rating, okay.
A rating.
Yeah, no, as far as the lines, Intertops is, I mean, in the show, in the morning show, I often quote Intertops as having, you know, the best line available. So, yeah, if you have them as an out, you definitely will wind up using them. If you're just from a purely line shopping perspective, there will be times when they'll have, you know, the best line available. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with what Tomar's saying as well. And Cynthia, when you say like they're meant for, you know, square players, that makes me want to bet there, you know, because their lines are going to be off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, everybody has, it's again, you know, you have to have a different profile. You know, when you're picking sports books, you have to look at it like it's your portfolio. You know, what kind of books are going to give you, you know, what kind of value, because not all of them are cut in the same, you know, from the same mold. So, you know, you look at that, you know, usually three sportsbook accounts, everybody knows, you know, what the industry is like, mostly, you know, depending on where you're standing in this world, but, you know, legality, all that kind of stuff. So depending on what that situation is like, it'll make it so much easier or tougher for you to you know, fund an account. So you want to make sure that you're in with books that have you covered and ease that process as much as possible. That's where a three book minimum is always a big thing to have. You know, have it loaded, ready to go. I don't know if you guys, you know, follow that, or how many books do you guys usually have?
I usually have, well, I have Pinnacle, and then I'll use like Heritage, and I mean, I wind up using Pinnacle for a lot of my bets. I would use 5 Dimes if I could play there. Yeah, I usually have 3 or 4, roughly.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yep.
If not more.
Excellent.
All right.
Wrong on that one.
We have any more questions?
Let's see. We have a lot of lot of people commenting on the various books. Yeah, I mean, in general, the most important thing I think is reliability, and then you can look at the specifics after that. You know, as far as bonuses and as far as you know, because various books will offer you and they'll have like specials and promotions and stuff like that. So yeah. So Mike keep asking, Pete, what is 1 unit play? What do you think 1 unit should be as a percentage of total bankroll? Heard anywhere from 1 to 5%. Well, yeah, there's actually a Kelly calculator at the tools section of SBR Odds, and if you use that, you can find out exactly what percentage of your bankroll should be based on your assumed edge on a play. But yes, I would say that you know, a 5% edge with that's a pretty big. That's not unheard of, but that's a big edge there. That's a big play. That is a rare play for me. I would say that 5% plays are reserved for like some college football game where I really think I have like a solid big edge. I rarely make 5% plays. Usually it's more like, you know, anywhere from 0.5% to 2%, something like that. You know, it'll usually be like the base play will be like 0.5%, and then if I like it a decent amount, I'll double it, and if I really like it, I'll triple it or quadruple it. But yeah, I usually won't go much higher than 2% just to be safe, just because I'm a conservative bettor, you know, and I'd rather leave money on the table than lose money with a positive EV record. You know what I mean? Yeah, the one thing I don't want to have is be like, all right, well, I hit 53.5% over a big sample size, but I lost money because I bet too high. You know, I'd rather have it be like, all right, I hit 54% and I left some money on the table, but you know, all right, I didn't, you know.
Slow Six says bonuses are a huge trap. In most cases, the rollover requirements are crazy. I 100% disagree with you. You know, if you deposit 500 and they give you a 50% bonus, so you're now at 750 in your bankroll in that sports book. If you do this now and you get your money after the football season, you're going to hit that rollover requirement by week 7 or 8 in most cases. So
yeah, it also bears.
Thanks for the comment.
Yeah, you also do want to when you get a bonus, you want to see whether it's a cash bonus or a free play bonus, and see what the rollover requirements are for sure. You want to keep that in mind. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you're just going in and maybe that's why he said that he just wanted to make one bet and then get his money back,
right? Yes.
Then obviously, just do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we? I'll just quickly. I'm trying to find the friggin' tools section here. How the hell do I find the tools?
There's plenty of tools around here.
And that's the whole thing, guys. You know, where it's. I think that with bonuses, I'm going back to the bonuses thing, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's an important topic.
It's okay. You know, it's just like, look, it's an incentive. You know, it's an incentive. It's just like, here you go, guys. You know, work the credit that is given towards your account, but it doesn't mean that, you know, it's just like, all right, I got a $250 bonus, here we go, you know, whatever. There has to be an angle and strategy of how you're going to unlock it. You know, just because you got it doesn't mean you're going to keep it. And I think that is what a lot of people, when they're like, oh, I got a bonus, but it's BS, and, you know, you just get cheated out of it and everything else. I mean, you got to earn it. Mm-hmm. You got to earn it. It's not good enough just because you put money into an account that they're just going to give you free money. You know, it's just like there's opportunity there. Whether or not you seize it is a different story.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of my take on the bonuses, and I think that's why it's so misleading that people just get a bad vibe from it.
Yeah, well said. You got to read the fine print, and it's always there.
Yep. Agreed. So yeah, they're talking about the rollover requirement and stuff. So.
Yeah,
it's just like anything else. They're all different. I'm sure there's a lot out there that aren't.
Yeah, some are 3, some are 5 times, some are even more, 7 times. So.
Yeah, with big old list of them, sure.
Yeah. Do you guys have a nitrogen account? They're asking about our feedback on
I don't.
I like nitrogen because esports.
Esports.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So I'm a super nerd like that, and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then Bobby said it's hard to roll over. And it's just like, it always is hard to roll over.
I was going to keep my mouth shut.
But, you know, the whole thing is that's why you attend the IFBC conference, because we will help you see the light on how to roll, you know, how to get these bonuses and how to get the most of them.
And that's the key, how to get the most out of them.
Yes. So, what's the best way to know if the quarterback is sniffing coke?
Drug test?
Does he smoke Parliament Lights? No.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. I guess that's about it. And yeah, thanks for all the questions. And we will be back tomorrow. Cleveland has now scored 2 runs, thank Lord. So maybe we'll get. We just need 4 more. And Drew and I will be back next Thursday to answer any and all of your general sports betting questions. Thanks for tuning in.
Cynthia's got to join too.
Yes. Excellent.
All right. I will.